You know how they say, oh, there's something in the water, like there's something in these pages, like I don't know what they're doing. Hello and welcome back and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, as you can tell by the title, today I'm going to be doing the end of the year tag, and it is literally the end of the year. So I was tagged by Rainy Blue Reads. I will have her channel and the video that she did linked down below. So for all these questions, I tried to limit myself and make it so that I did not list more than 2 books. So some of these have 1 answer. I was able to narrow it down to 1 book, which was very hard. And some of them maybe have like 2. There is 1 question I think has like 4, but I'll explain when we get to that. I also tried to make sure that I wasn't repeating the same books over and over again. So I tried to make sure that all of these questions have different answers, like different books, and I'm not reusing the same books over and over again as my answer for everything. So without further ado, we are going to jump right into the first question. So the first question is, what was the most disappointing book of the year? And for this question, I do have 2 answers, and kind of for different reasons. The first one is The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. This was I believe a debut that came out this year in 2023, and the reason why I was so excited to read this book was because it was compared to Murders Only in the Building, which is one of my favorite shows right now. Like, I've been obsessed with that show since season 1. So when they said that this book was supposed to be like that and it compared itself to that, I was so excited. And then I read this book and it was absolutely nothing, like not even the vibes were anything like Murders Only in the Building. There is nothing about Murders Only in the Building that you're going to find in this book besides just the generic fact that it is kind of like a cozy murder mystery. So if you're going to compare yourself to a comedic series, then you have to be funny. This book wasn't funny at all. Like, 0 humor, 0 comedy, like just none of it. The comedy was missing. Like, where was she? We don't know. The other book that I found incredibly disappointing was The One by Julia Argy, and this book was particularly disappointing to me because the synopsis sounded really interesting about this girl who like goes on a dating show and kind of like the drama of being on this show that was kind of like The Bachelor. And so I was really excited. I like reading stories about, like, you know, television shows or movies, or like being on set or behind the scenes and stuff like that. Hollywood, musicals, like I'm really into stuff like that. I find that very like fun to read about. And this book just did not deliver. This book was so boring. It ended up being more, and I don't know if maybe I just misunderstood what this book was supposed to be, but I was under the impression that this was supposed to be like a romance basically, and it actually ended up being more of like just like general like contemporary fiction. It was almost like a coming of age story, which is not what I thought this was going to be, and it's not the way that I like perceived the synopsis. So it just was extremely boring. It was not interesting or entertaining at all. I'm pretty sure I did a whole vlog on this book earlier in the year, so if you want to hear like my more in-depth thoughts about this book, you can go check out that vlog. Just super boring. The next question is, what was the Underdog book of the year? And for me personally, I would say it's The Block Party by Jamie Day. And the reason why I picked this book is because I really enjoyed this book. I'm pretty sure I gave this book like 4.5 stars or something like that. I really enjoyed this. I definitely feel like if you like Big Little Lies, then you would really love this book. It was like a fun, like twisty, like contemporary but also like murder mystery kind of vibes. Like it was a really fun read. I really enjoyed it. But I have never heard anyone talk about this book all year. I think this book came out in July maybe, and to this day, like it is the end of the year, December, I have not heard a single person talk about this book, and I honestly don't know why, because I really liked it. So I highly recommend checking this out if you are a fan of Big Little Lies or stories like Big Little Lies. The next question is, which book was overhyped? And for this, I have to go with Tender is the Flesh. By who was the author of this? Augustina Basterica? This is a book that I heard a lot of people talking about back in like 2022. This kept showing up on a bunch of different like lists, like TikTok books and stuff like that. But it's also one of those books that is always, at least at the Barnes and Nobles that I go to, it's always like on a display table or something. I think this was one of the books recommended to me for my Reading Horror for the First Time blog, which I will have that link down below and in the cards if you want to check that out. This book was just awful. Like I don't even know. It's one of those books where like I have no idea why people really like this book. I definitely wanted to finish it, wanted to give it a try, wanted to see what all the hype was about, and I still don't know. Like, my brain is still trying to understand, trying to compute, trying to put the pieces together and make it make sense, because I don't understand why people like this book. The concept was great, don't get me wrong. I think that this book had the potential to be so good. The ending was not worth what I had to go through to get to it. The execution just completely fell flat, like just flat on its face, like just completely ate shit. Like this book just didn't do it. The next question is favorite book couples of the year, and this is the question where I have like 4 answers, and like normally what I try to do is narrow it down to a maximum of 2 answers, but for this one I really truly could not pick. There are so many good book couples that I read about this year, and so what I decided to do was narrow it down to 2, but I split it, so I have 2 answers that fall into like the YA category book couples, and then I have 2 answers that fall into like the adult like book couples category. So for YA, I decided to go with the couple from Her Good Side, which I can't remember what the girl's name was, but I think the boy's name was Jacob or Joshua or something like that. I highly recommend if you're looking for like a cute little like low stakes YA fake dating romance like rom-com. Definitely check this one out. And then the second book that I chose was a book that I rated 5 stars this year, so of course it had to make it into this end of the year tag, and that is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. The couple in this book is adorable. I had such a fun time. I read this, I believe this might have been the book that I read for the very first reading vlog that I ever did on my channel early this year. I think it was in February when I did that. And this book was so cute. Like there is literally like clips of me just like cracking up, giggling, smiling. Like I had such a good time reading this. This is a Groundhog Day type of storyline where the girl is repeating Valentine's Day over and over again. And I think her boyfriend like cheated on her or broke up with her or something like that, and so she has to keep reliving it over and over again, which is awful. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. Now as far as the adult romance couples go, the first one up is another book that I rated 5 stars recently actually, and that is A Little Magic by Lindsay Lanza, and I loved this couple. I love this book. This book was so cute. There was just something about this book that was really magical, like no pun intended. It was just something about like the snow and the winter, and just something about Theo, like the main love interest. Like he was just perfection. Just, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to Theo. All the Theos out there. Also part of the adult romance category. Romance is a strong word for this book, but it's gonna have to go to Lillian Atlas for It Starts With Us. I really enjoyed this book. Now, was this book 5 stars? No. But did I really enjoy it and really, was able to get into it and connect with these characters and the things that they were experiencing? Abso-freaking-lutely. And I just think that these characters handled their situation like champs. The next question is, who was your favorite main character of the year? And that has to go to Phoebe from Love in the Time of Serial Killers by, who was the author of this? Alicia Thompson. This book, I think I read this in January of last year, so almost a year ago it's been since I read this. I really liked Phoebe, mainly because she reminded me so much of myself. Like she and I had, weirdly, so much in common. So I feel like if you've read this book and you are familiar with Phoebe as a character, then you are familiar with me as a person. Now there are other characters that I really liked, especially like love interest. I really liked Sam from Every Summer After. I really like Theo, like I said, from A Little Magic. I really like Sam from One True Loves as well, but if I can only pick one, I'm gonna have to go with Phoebe. Speaking of One True Loves, the next question is, what is a book that surprised you? And I have 2 answers for this, but one of them is One True Love. Literally the only reason why I read this was because I wanted to do another edition, installment, episode, whatever you want to call it, of the Read It or Watch It series that I do on my channel, which if you're not familiar with that, go check it out. That's literally the only reason why I read this, and I fell in love with this book. This is another book that I rated 5 stars, and as you can see, like I tabbed it up. I don't know if you can see the tabs, but it is tabbed up. I love this book, and I was not expecting to. I did not know that this book was gonna hit me the way that it hit me. I actually got emotional. This was the first book that ever had me like tearing up. I'm a gangster, so I didn't cry. Okay, let's be very clear. I didn't cry. There were no tears shed, but I did tear up and I got really emotional, and I've never done that reading a book before. It was a very weird phenomena, very weird sensation. But yeah, it happened, and this book was the one that caused it. The only other book that I can say kind of surprised me was The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. And again, this is a book that I read relatively recently. This surprised me only because this was one of the few like thriller mystery books that I was not able to predict the ending. The person that ended up being the villain in the end, like the plot twist or whatever, is not who I thought it was. I was so focused on who I thought it was that I missed this person. I did think that this person was suspicious and was probably helping the bad guy, but I didn't realize that they themselves were the bad guy. So Catherine, you got me on this one. You surprised me. You did it. Well done. Brava. It won't happen again. The next question is, who is a new favorite author that you discovered in 2023? And I feel like if you've watched enough of my videos, then you probably already know exactly who I'm going to say, because there can only be one. It is the one, the only, Abby Jimenez. I eat up her books. They are, I don't know, they have like crack in between the pages or what's happening, but Abby Jimenez is doing to me the same thing that Taylor Jenkins Reid did to me last year, where I am just obsessed with the stories that they write and I can't explain why. You know how they say, oh, there's something in the water, like there's something in these pages, like I don't know what they're doing, but Abby Jimenez did it twice this year. I cannot wait to read her new release next year, and I also cannot wait to read her backlist. So that is an author, like I said before, I eat it up. Keep doing what you're doing, Abby. Keep it up. Keep up the good work, okay? The next question was one that was kind of difficult for me to answer, and I did the best I could. And the question is, what is the happiest book that you've read in 2023? And admittedly, I don't really read happy books. I don't know what that says about me. I'm just kind of dark and scary. So before I answer this question with what I think I want my answer to be, I just want to double check my story graph to see if maybe there's something on this list that I'm forgetting about. If I go to the moods section of my story graph, happy is not an option on this list. I don't know if happy just is not an option in general, or if it's just not an option for me because I don't read happy books. If you have Storygraph and you have a happy option under moods, please let me know, because I don't have one. Well, the closest book that I could think of to being happy is The Kiss Curse by, is it Erin Sterling? Yeah. It's very like low stakes, silly, like lighthearted. It's about witches, it's about, you know, romance, a lot of like sexual tension. So this is the closest thing that I could get to happy, if you can call it that. The next question is, what was the most frustrating book that you read in 2023? And again, if you've been here for a while, you probably already know what this answer is going to be, and that is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. And this book was frustrating for me to get through because I did not understand it. I did not know what was happening in this book for the majority of the book. I understood at the very end when things started like coming together, but everything that led up to that, I don't understand. And I feel like those are things that I will need to understand if I wanted to continue reading in the series. But if I didn't understand it now, I'm not gonna understand it later. This is the book that took me probably the longest to read this year. Like, it literally spanned over several months, which normally it doesn't take me more than a couple of days, if not weeks, to finish a book. So the fact that this took months for me to finish, it was rough. I know there are so many people that really love this book. I'm just not one of those people. The next question is, what is the best adaptation that you've read / seen in 2023? And for this is like a really easy answer for me. It has to go to Judy Blume, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I love that book. I thought it was so funny and cute, and the movie did such a good job. It is one of the best adaptations that I personally have read / seen, because I feel like it did such a good job of sticking to the book without changing a bunch of stuff, but also added some things into the movie that wasn't in the book that I think was actually like really beneficial. I talk about this in my Read It or Watch It. I will link that down below and in the card as usual. The next question is, what is the longest book that you read in 2023? And that would have to be A Quarter Silver Flame by Sarah J Maas. This is a 750, I think, page book. Yeah, 750 pages. This is the longest book not only that I've read this year, this is the longest book that I've read ever. I'm not the editor, I'm not the author, I'm not the publisher, I'm nobody. But this book was definitely longer than it needed to be, but I made it through, and so yeah, I finished this chunker. So I can actually say that I finished at least one series this year, and that's this one. On the flip side, the next question is, what is the shortest book that you read this year? And I picked two because one is a book by N.K. Jemisin, The City Born Great. That book I think was like 22 pages, and I didn't understand a lick of it, didn't know what was happening the entire time. So a book that I actually did understand, that was the shortest book that I read, was called, oh gosh, what is it called? The President's Brain is Missing by John Scalzi. But this book I think was like 29 pages or something like that, but it was fun. It was a really fun ride. It wasn't like some fantastic amazing story or anything, but it was a really fun, entertaining story, and I highly recommend if you're looking for like a funny, like poli-sci kind of like short story. The next question is, what is your favorite cover of the year? And for this I did pick two answers. One of them is a novel, the other one is a graphic novel, and the novel option that I chose was Carval by Stephanie Garber. I love this cover. I think this is so pretty. It's just so like fantastical, like it very much matches like the vibe of the book, so I love this. And also just inside the book, all the different like letters and stuff that you get, like these kind of things, like love that. Or even like the pages that are like in between the chapters I think are really pretty. So this was just a really pretty book in my opinion. And then as far as graphic novels go, The Last Count of Monte Cristo, and forgive me, I don't remember who the author is for this, but it's on the screen so you can see it. This was a graphic novel that is based on the original Count of Monte Cristo, but in graphic novel form and black. So this is a really fun read. The illustrations in this book are so good. I really enjoyed the art style and all the colors, and I just thought this cover was really well done, really well illustrated. The next question is, what is a book that you have not stopped thinking about? And I know y'all didn't think that I was going to do an end of the year tag and not talk about Ace by Angela Chen. You guys already know that this is one of my favorite books of the year. Definitely like number 2. It's yours truly and then this. Like you guys already know, I've been talking about these two books all year. So this is a book that I have absolutely not stopped thinking about. Not only have I not stopped thinking about it, I haven't stopped recommending it, and I will continue to recommend it until the day that I die. Because this book was fantastic, so highly recommend. Question number 15 is, what is the cringiest book that you read this year? And that would probably have to go to R.L. Stein's Fear Street. I believe it was called, because there's so many Fear Street books, I think it was called like The Cheerleaders or something. I'll pop a picture of it on the screen, of course. But this book was really cringy because it's obviously, you know, YA, so there's that, and then it's also written, you know, so long ago, not like hundreds of years or anything, but like so many decades ago. Like you can definitely tell by the writing that it wasn't written, you know, in this century. I think this book was written, I want to say, in the early 90s, and you can definitely tell that the writing style was from that era. The next question is, what is an unpopular book that you've loved? And I hate that this is the case, because I really did like this book. I'm pretty sure I gave it like 4, somewhere between 4 and 4.5 stars. But it is Once More with Feelings by Alyssa Sussman. I know so many people did not like this book, and it truly breaks my heart because I had such a fun time reading this. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was giving like Brittany and Justin. It was giving like a little bit of Camp Rock. Like, I just had so much fun. I think on Goodreads it has like a 3.6 or something like that. So, you know, it's not the worst, but I know a lot of people didn't really like this book, so whatever, it's fine. I still like it. Question number 17 asks, what are the highest and lowest rated books you read this year on Goodreads, and do you agree? To be quite honest, I have not used Goodreads in several months. I can't even tell you when the last time was that I used Goodreads and actually like logged a book and like gave it a star rating and stuff like that. Outside of books that I read on my Kindle, which automatically go to Goodreads, and NetGalley arcs that I read that automatically goes to Goodreads, I typically do not log my books on Goodreads anymore because I have pretty much switched over and I am almost exclusively using Storygraph at this point, and I really don't feel like going back and adding all the books that I read this year onto Goodreads just for the sake of being able to answer this question, so might have to skip this one. Question number 18 is, what is your favorite quote of the year? And there were plenty. There were so many to choose from, but I had to pick a quote from my favorite book of the year, and that is, as you already know, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And the quote that I decided to go with is, it says, "We're all a little broken. We are a mosaic. We're made up of all those we've met and all the things we've been through." And I just really liked that quote. I was able to really like visualize and like kind of like see that. And it just really, I don't know, something about that quote just really hit for me. The idea that, like, you know, so many people try to make it seem like they have it together, especially on social media. What's on the internet is usually snippets of the highlights of people's lives, and you don't get to see them day in and day out, and you don't really know the things that they're going through and the things that they're dealing with. And so the idea that we're all a little broken, and the idea that like we are all made up of all the people that we've met throughout our lives and all the different things that we've been through, for better or for worse, that we've been through in our lives, and the fact that like that's who all of us are. We are a combination of everyone that we've ever met, everyone that has ever touched our lives, again, for better or worse, and all the things that we've been through, whether it be good or bad. That is what everyone is. We've all been through really great moments, really bad moments. We've all had our highs and our lows. We're all that. And I just thought that was so beautiful that he, you know, found a way to put it into terms that for me was very visual and also beautiful, because it was like comparing us to a work of art. Question number 19 is, what is the book that had the most unique concept? And for this I have two answers, and the reason why I have two is because my first answer is Mr. Magic by, oh gosh, Kirsten White, I think was the author of that. And I thought this book had a really unique concept, but it was so unique that I can't even explain to you what it is. You definitely have to like suspend your imagination. I will say though that one of the things that made me appreciate this book even more was when I read the author's note and understanding that this book was basically one big metaphor for like Mormonism. Is that what it's called? Like Mormon, the Mormon religion. Is it a religion? Oh yeah, Mormonism is a word, and it is a religion. I was correct. I got lucky with that one because I really didn't know. But just knowing that like this book was like one big metaphor for Mormonism, I thought was really cool and very creative how it was done. Definitely like wins the award for best concept that I've read. The second book that I picked was How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine. Majority of time travel stories, you generally have either someone like knows the future and they're trying to stop the future from happening, and ultimately it doesn't end up stopping it from happening and it ends up happening anyway. Or you have a situation where someone like goes back in time and like purposefully tries to change something only to go back to their present day and realize that whatever they changed, they now hate their present day, and so they're trying to go back and undo whatever they did so they can go back and like reset to the way things were before. Or you have someone who time travels back in time by accident and they spend the entire time just trying to get back to their original timeline. This book is different because in this book, the main character goes back in time by accident, tries to change, you know, the future, does successfully change it. The ending is really what makes this very different, because it's like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have changed it. Maybe you should have just left it the way it was. The next question is, what is a book that you would reread? And obviously all of my 5-star reads that I read this year, I would definitely reread. But outside of my 5-star reads, I would say the book that I definitely think at some point I hope to reread is The Reunion by, oh gosh, who is the author? Kayla Olson, maybe, I think is the author. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars or something like that. But I wasn't really in the right headspace to read it. I wasn't really paying attention to it. I was very distracted. There was a lot going on during that time. So I just couldn't really focus and give it the attention that I feel like it deserved. And I feel like if I go back and reread it, then I probably would be able to better appreciate the story, enjoy it more, and then ultimately rate it higher. We're gonna skip question number 21 because that one is basically asking for you to reflect on your reading goals that you set for 2023 and kind of plan and set goals for 2024, which I will be doing in a completely separate video. And then the last question is, after reading all the books that you read in 2023, what are you prioritizing reading wise when it comes to 2024? And I've talked about this already. Like I said, I will be having a video coming out about my goals and stuff for 2024, but my main goal I've already talked about. The biggest goal that I have for 2024 is that 2024 is going to be the year of the series, which I already did an entire video about. I will have that link down below and in a card so you can check that out if you're interested. But that is my goal for 2024, is to knock out a lot of the series that I've been wanting to read, whether I've already started them and I'm in the middle of them, or if I haven't started them yet. And that is it. Those are all of my answers to the end of the year tag questions. Let me know down below what some of your answers were to this. It is literally the end of the year, and I don't think that it's fair to tag someone in something that they're not going to have time to complete before the end of the year. Now, does that mean that you have to do this, you know, before January 1st? No, not necessarily. You're welcome to post whatever you want, whenever you want. But I know that it just would be unfair to not give someone an opportunity to be able to post it before the year ends, and so I'm not going to tag specific people because I feel like that would not be fair to them. So just consider yourself tagged if you made it this far into the video. You are tagged, you are it. I have plenty of other tags that I'm going to be doing where I will be tagging several other booktubers, so don't worry, they are coming. That being said, be sure to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are not already subscribed. That will help me out so much, and I'd love to have you as part of the fam. As always, my socials and links will be down below in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.